is up, Kryptonians? It is about damn time that I talk about Superman and Lois on this channel. Before I get started, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the video, share the video, or like the video. It helps with the YouTube algorithm and all that jazz. As a big Superman fan, it is high past time that I talk about Superman and Lois on this channel, and I was gonna do it all in one video. Then I decided I wanted to be greedy a little bit, and I wanted to break down each season, because season 4 is ongoing right now, and I don't want to step on that. I kind of want to drink all of it in at once. So I decided I wanted to break it down into a review series. I wanted to review each season, and then when season 4 comes out, I'll review season 4. Then I'll do a ranking of all the seasons and like give an overview of the show. But for today, we're gonna be talking about season 1 of Superman and Lois. There are gonna be some spoilers. Season 1 came out a while ago, so if you have not seen Superman and Lois, Go watch Superman and Lois, man. Because as a Superman fan, or even like as a fan of superheroes in general, I don't see how you could not watch Superman and Lois. Like, it's got everything that you're looking for, really. To start off the bat, I did not like Tyler Hoechlin and his Superman. Remember, he came from the Supergirl universe, and I hated his suit and I hated him in that universe. It felt like they did too much to downplay him as a hero, as a character, in order to lift Supergirl up. He also was doing a lot of that bumbling, awkward, stupid thing that sometimes they portray Clark Kent as, and that's easily my least favorite version of Clark Kent.
Also, I'd like to point out before we go any further, even his suit for the first season is kind of ass. I don't like it. I don't like how the S looks spray painted on there. I don't like the texture. I don't like the color. I don't like anything about this suit. It just looks way too Party City for me. It just does not feel like a real Superman suit. I'm sorry. It's ass. It gets better in the next few seasons, but still.
But hey, he got his own show, he got a spinoff. I was like, I'm a Superman fan, I gotta check it out, at least just to see how he does. And I was pleasantly shocked and surprised to find that season 1 blew all my expectations away. I think it's a damn good season of superhero television. One of the things I do gotta single out this series for is that the creators absolutely have a love and a passion for Superman. Like, I can tell that in the way they direct it, the way they shoot it, and the way that they reference the mythology of Superman throughout the show. There are so many homages, there are so many references, Easter eggs, and iconic shots and moments that will remind you of other things in Superman's lore and his history. First scene that you see Superman is saving this nuclear plant, and he freezes a bunch of water and turns it into like this small ice continent. And he picks up the ice continent and he puts it into this nuclear reactor to like cool it down so that it can save thousands of lives. The shot of him lifting the continent or whatever, it did remind me a lot of that moment from Superman Returns when he picks up this gigantic continent of kryptonite and like pushes it into space. It's not the same one-to-one, but it definitely reminded me of that. There are moments that remind me of Man of Steel. There are moments that remind me of Smallville. Storyline this season with Morgan Edge, aka Tal-Rho, and his whole using the Eradicator to recreate Krypton. How does this not feel like it's taking stories from the comics or taking stories from Man of Steel if you haven't read the comics? So I wanted to give a shout out to the creators, because if you read interviews and hear them talk, they definitely were influenced by a lot of Superman's lore, and they were influenced by Man of Steel. They're big Man of Steel fans. The way that Superman moves, and really every Kryptonian in the show moves, and the sonic booms that they create when they fly or whatever reminds me a lot of Man of Steel. Like, there's little aesthetic things like that scattered throughout the whole show. I also want to single out Tyler Hoechlin. Tyler Hoechlin, season 1, establishes himself right off the bat as a great Superman. And what's great is that he's a great Superman while also being a great Clark Kent. Like, he has a lot of things that he's juggling this season. He also has like this testy relationship with the DOD because they've been developing weapons to possibly use against him just in case he ever goes rogue one day. Obviously, that's a dangerous thing for him and a dangerous thing for his family, so there's tension between him and the DOD because of that. There's also tension because there's a new character that shows up. We all know him as Steel. John Henry Irons shows up, and he's like hell-bent on killing Superman because he's convinced that whatever's gonna happen on this universe is going to happen just like it happened in his universe when Superman and a bunch of other Kryptonians basically destroyed the planet. Martha Kent, unfortunately, she dies in the first episode. So Clark takes Lois and his kids and he moves all the way out to Smallville. So reestablishing himself in Smallville, reestablishing his relationship with Lana Lang, doing all that while being a father, while trying to navigate the pitfalls, the ups and downs of being a father. I will say this, these kids in this show be talking any old kind of way to their parents. I'll be flinching a little bit when they're on screen because I'm just like, you're gonna say that to your dad, to your mom? You're gonna walk off like you didn't just give them the authority to kill you? Probably just the way I was raised. It's just a personal thing with me. Some of the kids, it doesn't matter whether it's the kid, whether it's Sarah from the Lang family or whether it's Jordan and John in the Kents, it doesn't matter. Kids in this show, they be talking any old kind of way to their parents, and it's kind of crazy. If I had talked this way to my parents, to my mama would have snatched my lip, burned it, and used it in a stew. My dad would have taken my head and flung it into the sun. So yeah, I say all that to say Tyler Hoechlin gives a very grounded, balanced performance. It's very sincere and genuine and earnest, and he does a great job at playing a Clark Kent that is not necessarily a bumbling idiot, which I hate. His Clark is a little bit awkward sometimes when he's around other people, but his Clark is also very down to earth. His Clark is very reserved, very humble. I love to see that shit. I love to see also Superman being challenged, and he's more challenged emotionally than physically this season. I mean, he is challenged physically a few times. John Henry Irons almost kills him a couple of times. I mean, Morgan Edge, aka Tal-Rho, he almost kills him a few times. But the real challenge for Superman in this season is emotionally, like navigating the ups and downs of his sons and his family and trying to figure out best way to keep them all safe and to do what he needs to do to protect them. His kids have a very funny reaction to finding out that he's Superman. Like, they're insanely mad about it. And well, I do get the idea that him not being there and him lying to them was a pretty big deal. Like, I understand that part. I don't know, man. If you tell me that my dad is Superman, literally the most powerful being on the face of the earth, there was nothing you could tell me. You couldn't tell me shit. I would kind of be dancing on cloud nine. That's kind of awesome to me. Granted, I don't know if John and Jonathan have the same nerd-like tendencies that I do, but all I'm saying is, if you tell me that my parent has a superpower, I'm immediately gonna think that I have superpowers, and I'm gonna think it's the greatest thing ever. Another thing to touch on briefly is the chemistry between Tyler and between Elizabeth, who plays Lois. Elizabeth Tulloch, I think is her name. Some of my favorite parts of the season are moments where they're just kind of sitting down on their porch and they're discussing a problem with the kids or a problem with her as she's like navigating this new life in Smallville. Maybe they're sitting down talking about her father, Sam Lane, who is the head of the DOD, and maybe they talk about everything, and they're very open and honest with each other. It's not always perfect. They have their tension, they have their squabbles, but the love is genuine, the love is real. There are so many moments here that build the chemistry. I love the montages that we get that show how their life came up. There's an episode late in the season that basically Superman's basically under mind control at this point. Tal-Rho is looking through his memories, and he gets to see how Clark came to this earth, and he gets to see how he met Lois and how that relationship got started. I thought it was actually one of the best episodes of the entire season. I also want to briefly touch on the visuals for this show. Obviously, it's the CW, which is a built-in excuse for if some of the CGI looks shoddy, and yeah, not all of the CGI looks great, I'll admit, but I think like a solid 80% of the visuals look pretty good, actually. Like, it looks good. It looks good when Superman's flying. It looks good when Superman's fighting people. The biggest issue with this series is that it is the CW, so there's going to be some manufactured melodrama every few episodes, which makes the show sometimes feel like it's a little bit bipolar. There's going to be tension and conflict in an episode, and then there's going to be a family talk, and then they're going to resolve it and move forward. And then the very next episode, there could be something else that's going to cause more tension, more conflict, and then characters are just kind of yelling and screaming and just going through a bunch of drama. It's the CW, so there's gonna be drama. I also love the way that they built up Morgan Edge, first as a threat to Lois and the people of Smallville, then later revealing that he's Tal-Rho, a long-lost brother of Superman. I thought really added a personal touch to their conflict. I thought the way that they built him up and the way that they perfectly established that he's kind of a cracked mirror image of Clark. Like, basically, Kal-El could easily be Tal-Rho if he had landed somewhere else or if he had experienced the kind of human depravity that Tal-Rho experienced, which is why I thought that it was actually kind of a great arc for Clark to at first be against these weapons that the DOD has in store against him, and then by the end of the season, he's kind of like, actually, you know what? I am a bit powerful. I do like the way that power feels sometimes, and I was just mind controlled by an Eradicator thing that almost wiped out the human race. So you know what? Maybe we should keep something in reserve just in case I go off the deep end a little bit. The whole Zod infiltrating Clark's head thing felt a little bit rushed, I'm not gonna lie. I wish they had done a little bit more with that. There are so many highlight moments throughout this entire series, throughout season 1. There's a great episode where Superman like lands in Mexico and is taking out a bunch of robbers, and he's like feeling the effects of Kryptonian sickness, so he actually gets shot and it actually hurts him for a second. Superman and Henry Irons fighting Kryptonians in Metropolis, that was a great episode. The season ends on a pretty awesome cliffhanger with Henry Irons' daughter just landing right in front of them. and coming to their Earth. So that creates a lot of great tension and conflict for the next season. And I like the fact that Lois, it's not just that she's not just here to be the mother and the emotional support for Clark. She has her own story. She has her own thing that she's doing too. She essentially starts a new reporter job at this much smaller paper. She's like a big key to kind of exposing the town to Morgan Edge and his corruption. Overall, guys, I thought this was a great season 1. I thought that the season was scattered with great moments for Superman, for Lois. If you like any part of Superman's history, whether it's the comics, whether it's the movies, animated, like the DC animated series, no matter how you feel about any part of Superman's mythology and his history, this show is paying homage to it in some small way. The music is pretty awesome too. It's instantly like one of my favorite Superman themes ever made. This was a pretty awesome season 1. I'm gonna give this one 4 out of 5 stars. I think it's pretty good, and it definitely sets the stage for a great season 2. Those are my thoughts on Superman and Lois season 1. Stay tuned for more reviews. I'm gonna be reviewing Superman and Lois season 2 sometime in the next few days. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.